A short story by Paul McCann. Jeremiah's Fortune. Sat at the bar at Sean O'Casey's one evening with Brian. Before us were two dark pint glasses half filled with stout. The pints had their own time to be finished, and it wasn't going to be soon. We were in no hurry to finish up and go home, as we sat there talking to one another. I noticed this well-dressed woman in the corner looking over at me, and it never dawned on me that she had been listening to my conversation about bumped-up prices of cottages in Buncrana. Not that I knew much about real estate anyhow, I was just making small talk and bluffing my way through. At the end of the day, all I was looking for was a place to get my head down. To cut a long story short, I was flat broke and hadn't worked for quite some time, so what would I know about high financing? The well-dressed lady came over and joined in the conversation. "Are you thinking about buying a place in Buncrana then?" she said, with a query in her voice. "Oh, it's a bit beyond me," says I. Still remember the look on her face. It was innocent and genuine as she spoke. I thought to myself, who have I? She took out a book from her handbag and opened it up, running her finger down the list of things to do in the months ahead, and she said, "I'm soon to be heading to Ayr Square on business, and I'm looking for someone to look after my old place in Donegal. Just upkeep around the place and some general maintenance, if you're interested. And in return, I'll give you the cottage rent-free for 6 months. It would give you some time to have a look around Buncrana and get acquainted with the locals there." Brian kicked my feet under the table. Then he raised up his pint glass and finished, which was a bit out of character for him. Wiping his lips, he said, "Listen, Danny, we've got somewhere to go. I'll catch up with you later on." Before I could speak, Brian was out the door and gone. The well-dressed woman came and she sat beside me there. She set her glass there down beside mine. Unsure of what to do or say, I scrambled for words to impress her. Actually, I'm a writer. I would love to take some time out in Donegal." "Isn't it a small world? I'm a writer myself." "My name is Claire," she said. I reached out my hand to hers, and she grasped it gently. "Nice to meet you." "I'm nice to meet you too. My name's Danny, and it's very nice of you to open up your home to me. But the thing is, Claire, you see, my car is off the road at present, and I'm not sure how I would be able to actually get to Donegal." "Is that so?" she said. And I replied, "I'm afraid so. Claire, as much as I would love to take up your offer, I have to let it go." She opened up her handbag and took out a book. She gave it to me and said, "I wrote this book and published it myself. It's taking me 5 years. Now, the hard work is only just beginning. I am personally going to sell it and could do with a helping hand. If you look after my cottage for me, I can be free to travel around the country, speaking to people and selling my book." I opened the book and skimmed through the pages. The book was about making garments out of tweed. It explained the process from the sheep's back to the finished article. Each painful step was explained in detail. There were photographs, sketches, and fashion designs and patterns. "Looks like you've been busy," I said. "It's been a lot of hard work," she replied. I tried to be open and encouraging about her work, as one writer to another. I got into a very lengthy conversation about the book, and as we talked, she bought a few drinks, and I kept talking, and she kept bringing more drinks. At the end of the night, I told her that I would be glad to look after her cottage, and she was delighted. She said, "Oh, thank you, Danny. I'm so grateful." "I'm not sure how to get there. Can you give me some directions, Claire?" I asked. Well, catch the bus from Dublin to Donegal. It leaves twice a day from the fancy clothes shop at the end of the main street there. I nodded, and she began to draw me a map on a scrap of paper. She marked a place on the map called Jeremiah's Lane, and there she wrote down a phone number where she could be contacted. She gave me the scrap of paper and said, "When you get to Donegal, ask the driver to let you off at Doris Hill. If you should need to contact me at any time, I put down my number there where I can be reached." Well, what the heck, I guess. That all sounds okay, Claire. I've nothing to lose, says I. I took the scrap of paper. She smiled and said, "Oh, yes, indeed. Now, after you get off the bus, follow the only road there, and that will take you to Jeremiah's Lane. My cottage is the last property on the lane," she said. How will I know it?" I asked. There is an old well in the middle of an overgrown garden. That's my land. And the key to the cottage is under the large white stone beside the well. So what jobs there do you really need done? Just keep the place tidy until I return. I may be gone for at least 6 months. Maybe more if I get inspired. I may even write another book. Is there anything else I need to know? Well, now, there is no electricity, and you'll have to fetch your water from the well, but I'm sure you're used to roughing it. With that, Claire got up and left. I sat there for a while thinking about Donegal, and first it all sounded really romantic, but the more I thought about drawing water from the well every day and sitting around by candlelight, the more I could see me not going. But then again, I had told her I would, and in my books, you're as good as your word. So, without another word, I had finished my drink and went to chase the morning light. The next morning, I caught the bus. Getting on, I asked the driver if he knew of a Doris Hill in Donegal. Sure enough, he said he did, and so after a good hour's drive, he took me to Doris Hill. I got off the bus and started to walk down the road for quite some time until I found not only one lane but several lanes, and none of them were signposted. It was going to be potluck if I took the right one or not. I walked for miles without seeing any cottage, and there was no sign of life anywhere. I took out the map Claire had drawn and checked it up this way and that way. Doubled back and took another look, went down another lane, and started to get dark, and I still hadn't found the cottage or Jeremiah's Lane. I went to the high ground. I could find it in maybe the hope of seeing some lights somewhere or sign of life, but there wasn't a light to be seen anywhere, and darkness fell. And I was stranded in the middle of nowhere. Well, I thought I'd better get my head down, so I sat down on the ground, and as the cold wind buffeted my face, I started to feel the cold and realised that I was going to spend the night there under the stars. As I lay there, my eyes eventually started to close, and suddenly I was awoken by a drunk. He tripped over my body. Both of us let out a scream in shock. And like a busted balloon, I jumped to my feet, shaping up. "Oh, who are you? What do you want?" "Jeremiah is my name, and who might you be there? Stranded, sober, on my road, in the middle of the night." "Donny's my name." After a while, we both settled down a bit. Then from his pocket he produced a drop of the Mountain Dew, and we shared a long swig or two and a laugh or two, and eventually, in the dead of the night, we both fell fast asleep. The next morning I found a head on my shoulders, and I wished that I had dropped off, maybe half sober, but no, I had dropped off completely stocious drunk, and I had no idea of who was resting his head upon me shoulder. The bright sunlight pierced my eyes, and as I lay there looking through the hole in the thatch of an old cottage. And suddenly the front door opened, and in walked Jeremiah. "Oh, Jesus, boy, what a night that was," he said. I sat up in a kind of a daze, and I said, "Jeremiah, what a fright you gave me. What happened last night?" And in the light of the day, I could see him clearly now. He was as big as a mountain, and this big red beard clung to his face like it was never going to leave without a fight. And his hair was long and tattered, with his fierce eyes full of fire looking at me. His hands were like two big dirty spades as they unloaded two clods of turf into the open fire already smoking, and there was some salmon cooking. His voice was friendly, and I chanced to shake his hand. "Jeremiah, I'm not sure if you know of a woman round here by the name of Claire, but it was she who sent me here, and I'm to look after her cottage in Jeremiah's Lane until she returns from her travels." I told him about Claire, and he listened. And then he told me about Claire. "Well, no, I can take you down to Claire's cottage, but I can also tell you about her poor invalid husband in a wheelchair, who I've been taking care of for the past 6 months, while she's been away on her travels. It was only by chance that I found her husband there, just barely alive in his wheelchair, one night, half drunk as I was, on me way back from the bacon slicers, and I heard the screaming for help. The electricity's cut off, and so there was water in the cottage that he wouldn't have survived, I'll tell you that. There was nothing for him at all to eat. A freezing cold night. So I was wondering about this woman now, Claire, and I'll tell you." I sat there, surprised, and I says to him, why? "Why, for the insurance, of course. Didn't she have his life insured for a huge amount of money? She never counted on me finding him now. Oh, I rearranged things a little bit now, yeah. Fixed the area up a bit, and put a few extra laneways in, if you know what I mean. I took away the signposts, just to confuse things a little bit more, like I knocked down her old cottage. And I've been looking after John ever since. Holy Mother of God. Have you got a contact for Claire?" "No. Have you got one?" "Well, I've got a phone number." "Have you got an address?" Well, I produced a scrap of paper and nodded. Then Jeremiah went over to his bedroom door and brought out John in his wheelchair. "Tell this lad here now about the little surprise that we've got waiting for your woman Claire when she wants to return. And tell her I said hello. Will you? Write her a letter now. Would you do that, Danny, for me?" I was stunned. "Jeremiah, why did she ask me to come here?" I asked. "Work it out, Danny. You were the one who was meant to find her husband's dead body. You were the one who was going to take the foul and get the ball rolling for her, if you know what I mean." "I'm out of here," I said. I got to my feet. Jeremiah laughed, and he said, Listen, lad, before you go. Let me tell you something else. There was an old well on her property. But what she didn't know was there was a fortune at the bottom of the well. Didn't I find it? Bundles of money, all wrapped up in oilskins. The funny thing is, I'm rich now. And if you have time to let her know about that as well, when you ring her on the phone or send her a letter, with my regards." The end.